I think the largest order that I've done so far was an order I did recently. It was for a bridal shower, and I think it required about I think a couple hundred items. My name is Salma Abdirahman. I'm a 21-year-old college student who, loves baking.
magacayga waa Hawo Hassan, gabadhaydana waa Salma Abdirahman. Waxay samaysaa keegag iyo waxaas.
I run my own small business. I do custom cakes and treats. I started baking full-time professionally during quarantine, but I always watched my mom bake when I grew up. My mom and my aunt used to bake all the time for all the local weddings, any gatherings we had as a family, they would do the baking. So I would always watch them do that. So I was really interested in baking.
Salma horta ayadaa waxeeda baratay. Ani waxaan baray waa yarihiin. wax yar iga baratay anaaba wax ka bartay ba ayada waxeeda meel ay ka fiirsatay waxeeda ayada maskaxdeeda ku haysatay inay barato ilaa markay yarayd ay jeclaan jirtay inay wax baxaan barato qofkaanay baray hooyaday Soomaaliyan joognay kan yaraa hooyaday waxay sameyn jirtay keegag iyo waxa Soomaaliya anaga ku soo kornay magaalo yar Soomaaliya kamid ah soo hooyaday waxay sameyn jirtay Ilaahay ha u naxariistay keegaga aan sabaayada waxay sameyn jirtay oo kale bur waxa jiray oo wadankayga markaan joognay intii la xasho la galiyo oven ma haysan dab intii la shido sidii ovenka camal loo sameeyo soo waa laga gadan jiray xitaa dariskeena oo noo imaan jireen naga iibsan jireen soo waa caawin jiray meelkaan u dhaqi jiray waxa u sii qasi jiray wixii aan ka bartay.
The first time I remember myself baking was I went to the grocery store and I bought those cans of those Pillsbury cookies, and I was really excited to go home and make a fresh batch of cookies. So I went home, I unpackaged, did all that, cut out the rounds of the circles for the cookies, put them in the oven. But I was really disappointed with the outcome because when I took it out of the oven, it was just a huge blob and it was just all burnt. And my once perfect circles were gone. So I think that's the first time that I actually went into the kitchen myself without my mom and my aunt there, and decided to do some baking, and it was a disaster.
iyadoo yar waxaan xasuustaa 12 jirta oo hadba intay wax samayso markay ka halaabaan daadisa hadana mid kala samaysa oo hadana mid kala samaysa oo maanta dhan wax samaysa oo ku xanaaqo nigada waxa sameynaysi inaan bartaan rabaa آخركينا واقع ما شاء الله.
I think with every time you go into the kitchen and you're doing baking, you're gonna run into some mishaps. So I think having to start over, that might be my worst, but professionally, I've run into a couple disasters where I had to start over, where it could go from a cake falling apart completely after I finished decorating it, or my batter going wrong. So you're gonna run to those little mishaps all the time.
أنا ما كهر إيماني وأكو encourage كريه إني براتو وعاون شري مركو كهلا أي حناقض كلا وادتشين شري وحدي شري دور بريبكو في عنانا يا ما دي شري وحنا وادي بدين هاي واسار إسكاداف وحاس مسمين شري مركا كفرت بالبيكو هيد إني كهلابان أو إسكاقبتو إمت كلا سميسو أو وحي أسفي عرو براتو ما دي شري وان خسارة سانا نقول سمي.
I think patience is so important because there is a lot of room for error in baking. So just to be able to handle yourself well during a stressful time is really important. So I hope to have a storefront that I share with my mom, because the whole passion, the whole reason I started baking and sell sweets was so the reason was so me and my mom could have something we could share. Because she also has a love for baking and I also have a love for baking. So if we could kind of bring a fusion of her Somali style and my American style, and have a storefront where we could both represent ourselves creatively. I'm a college student, so most of my days were it's surrounded of me going to school. But I usually reserve Thursdays for starting baking. I take a lot of weekend orders, so it's gonna require me baking. I'll make my cake batter a day, my frosting a day, decorating another day, just so it's not overwhelming, because I do have a lot of other things to do. I think the largest order that I've done so far was an order I did recently. It was for a bridal shower, and I think it required about I think a couple hundred items and a 2-tiered cake. So it was a pretty large order, which took I think around a week for me to actually fully complete.
way tustaa shaloo kale waxa sameynayna keegag badan marka waqti may u haynin kuwa aan aqoonin in ayada samayso soo afka iiga sheegaysa anna waa sameynay sidii yoona ku soo bax ay rabtay ina u sameeyo la rabay marka waa iscaawinaa jikada isla galnaa weelka isla hagaajinaa meesha isla samaynaa keega waa isla dubnaa waxa dhan waa isla samaynaa ifan hadday maqan tahay keegaga usii dubaa waxaan usii geliyaa ovenka waa u qasaa waa ogahay siday u qasato waa aqaanaa wixii oo diyaar u timaadaa markaasay hagaajisaa.
I think what makes me special is the passion I have for what I do, but I try not to look at the other local bakeries and bakers as competition, because I think there's room for everyone to grow in this industry, and I feel like I'm especially lucky because I have a group of Muslim sisters that I'm connected with that are also local bakers in Minnesota. So we're able to bounce ideas off each other, referrals, and just have a support system. So I like to give back to the community by finding organizations and businesses that I feel connected with, and I will try to find if they have any events that they're holding and offer free treats for them. There's this new Islamic organization that was just started right now by Muslim sisters called Strive, and they had an open house, so I reached out to them and offered them to give them free treats. I hope to pass on this business to my mother full time, where I could, kind of help out, but my plan is to fully pursue a career in dentistry. Yeah, trying to get clients out of my patients.